In the quiet dark beyond the boundaries of known creation, where silence itself was not merely absence, but a presence vast and ancient, something stirred, a ripple across the folds of metaphysical infinity. This was not a place mapped by galaxies or charted by divinities. It was where all that was bent before what is. And here, in this margin between story and source, two forces, titanic in essence and opposed in concept, drew closer to their destined confrontation. True Form Darkseid had awakened. Not the shadowed projection that haunted the multiverse, not the Lord of Apocalypse as known by mortals or gods, but the real dark side, the embodiment of anti-life itself. He moved not through space, but through concept, entering the idea of existence rather than traversing it. With him came a pressure, an inertia of will that denied the soul its autonomy. Stars imploded into silence. Gods bowed without understanding why. Civilizations forgotten and civilizations unborn cried out in sudden, inexplicable terror as he approached the axis of the unknowable. Across the sea of stories, in a reality, authored and authored again, Lucifer Morningstar sensed the ripple. He stood on the balcony of a world he had created, watching a sunset he designed without any need for time. The colors danced not just in hue, but in emotion, as though light itself recalled joy. He was barefoot, immaculate, ancient beyond measure, a being of casual omnipotence and weary wisdom. He smiled, not because he was amused, but because he understood. The tide was shifting, and he knew its shape before it even reached his shore. A thought flickered through Lucifer's mind, more a sigh than a sentence. So, it begins again. The tyrant reaches for the throne of meaning. He did not need to move, but he did. If only to honor the ritual of things. Across plains of eternity, where dimensions swam like fish in a mythic river, he walked, each step birthing galaxies, each breath writing stanzas into the book of being. He arrived at the threshold of endings, a place where only absolutes met. And there, he found him. Darkseid was not a form, but a presence, not an image, but an imposition. His true self could not be seen or beheld. It was understood, felt, succumbed to. Where he stood, identity unraveled. The anti-life pulsed through him, not like a weapon, but as an inevitability. In his presence, even time hesitated, unsure if it could go on. Lucifer regarded him as one might an old rival at the edge of a dream. "You've come," he said, not as challenge but recognition. "The question remains, what have you come for?" Darkseid's reply was not words, but resonance. The idea of resistance, pointless. The illusion of self, fragile. The truth, submission is peace. He did not speak, he did not need to. But Lucifer did. He always had. You offer anti-life as an answer, a completion of the question why. You promise peace by extinguishing choice, by denying pain, by removing the burden of free will. He gestured, and a flower bloomed between them, simple, bright, and perfectly meaningless. But tell me, Darkseid, what value has peace if no one chooses it? Darkseid pulsed, the anti-life stretching out like a net of certainty, brushing against the flower, which withered instantly. The choice never mattered. All things must yield to order. Freedom is illusion. Desire is a disease. The anti-life is the cure. Lucifer leaned forward, fascinated. But you mistake order for wisdom. Your equation silences the chaos of the soul. Yes, but in doing so, it also silences the song. You see will as a flaw to be corrected. I see it as the first music. And in that music, even defiance has harmony. A fissure cracked in the edge of reality. Worlds tilted. The conversation alone was shattering untold dimensions, their philosophies clashing like tectonic plates. As they stood, each one a continent. Of meaning, the cosmos watched, not through eyes, but through consequence. This was not a battle of fists or energy beams. This was a clash of narrative purposes, of cosmic identities. One sought the end of all contradiction. The other was born to embody it. Darkseid pressed closer, his essence a gravity well of nihilism. "You seek to preserve illusion," his voice finally boomed, deep, not as a sound, but as a law. "You defend chaos because you fear the truth. Everything is dying, Morningstar. I offer unity." Lucifer's reply was quiet, and yet it outshone the roar. "No. You offer sameness, you offer silence. I offer meaning, even if that meaning is carved from suffering and defiance and broken dreams." Their surroundings collapsed into a neutral zone, a canvas between them shaped only by concept. There the rules could not hide, their philosophies coalesced into avatars. Darkseid's manifestation, dark and crushing, a figure made of obsidian inevitability. Lucifer's form was radiant yet grounded, a paradox of divine freedom and grounded defiance. The stage was set, the prelude complete. All that remained was the clash, the culmination of two opposing truths. Not merely a duel of gods, but a war between what is and what could be. As silence fell one final time before the storm, Lucifer met the gaze of the god who would unmake desire. And he smiled again, not because he was amused, but because he knew hope, choice, love and pain were not flaws to be erased. They were notes in the eternal music, and he would not let that music go quiet, not without a fight. Reality convulsed. There was no sun, no sky, no earth to anchor this encounter. The battlefield was not forged of matter, but of meaning, a liminal stage carved out of abstraction and intention, where the laws of lesser beings had no hold. Here, creation folded upon itself in reverence, dread, and awe, forced to bear witness to the collision of its greatest extremes. True form. Darkseid did not advance. He was advance. He emanated conquest in pure form. Reality melted before him like ink in fire, unraveling not from force, but inevitability. He didn't stride. He asserted, permeating the fabric of the battlefield with a presence that defied argument. The anti-life equation hummed through him like blood through arteries. No longer a concept, but an exhale. Wherever his essence touched, thought became futile, will disintegrated, and memory collapsed into silence. Lucifer Morningstar faced this not with fury nor fear, but stillness. The kind of stillness that exists only in those who have seen the machinery of existence from within and found it wanting. His gaze did not flinch. He understood what approached him, not merely a being of might, but an idea made weapon. The death of story, the funeral of freedom. Darkseid struck first, not with fists, but with truth. A wave of absolute certainty flooded the space between them, obliterating meaning. Every molecule screamed to forget itself, every idea shriveled under the weight of pure negation. Mortals would have died in concept, gods would have shattered in name. Lucifer held up a single finger. The flood split. With effortless grace, he etched a sigil into the space between them, made of nothing but decision, a glyph of refusal, ancient and nameless. It shimmered in defiance, holding back the tide, not with force, but with paradox. He chose to exist, and that was enough. Darkseid followed, pushing the anti-life through realms of consciousness. History folded, futures screamed, and destinies tore as the full brunt of his purpose bore down upon the Morningstar. Stars turned inside out in the wake of his concept. Causality began to rupture. Hope as an archetype began to flicker, bleeding from countless timelines across the multiverse. Lucifer exhaled, and with that breath he created a song. The melody was not heard. It was remembered, even by things that had never lived. It wove through the bones of the cosmos, reminding every shred of reality that it had a name once, a dream once, a chance once, and in that remembrance, the anti-life faltered. Darkseid's voice pierced the ether like a divine gavel. You delay the inevitable. Resistance is pain. Pain is illusion. Illusion is disobedience to truth. Lucifer's eyes burned golden. You mistake inevitability for wisdom. You think because you are truth, you are right. But what is truth if not born? From the freedom to choose, what is peace if it arrives as a cage? Darkseid lunged. His fist was not a hand. It was tyranny given form, the hammer that shattered multiverses. Entire cosmologies perished in its arc. Even dreams that had never been dreamt blinked out. Lucifer caught it with one hand. The collision ripped the battlefield apart, not in pieces, but in meaning. Concepts screamed as they were torn from context. Memory and possibility scattered like embers in a hurricane. Lucifer spoke as they locked. You have no imagination, old god. You speak in absolutes because you fear uncertainty, but uncertainty is where life happens. He wrenched Darkseid's arm back and with a twist of his hand birthed a new reality. A microcosm populated instantly by beings who could choose their fate. In that instant, they loved, suffered, created, destroyed, evolved. Darkseid's fist erased them without effort, but in their wake Lucifer smiled. You cannot erase what has already become story. Darkseid roared, not in frustration, but in inevitability. He stepped beyond scale. His form grew to blot out comprehension, a god of conceptual gravity, pulling all into the null. There was no light now, only inevitability. Even Lucifer's light began to flicker, not extinguished, but tested. Lucifer's voice echoed across the collapsing battlefield. You call me weak because I don't conquer, but I could. I made my own cosmos from nothing by will alone. I do not dominate because I know domination is cowardice dressed as control. I do not enslave because I have no need for obedience. I am not God, but I am what makes gods matter. Darkseid raised both arms, unleashing the full power of the anti-life equation. Choice, freedom, thought, hope, all were overwritten. Across all timelines, versions of Lucifer began to vanish, variants submitted, echoes silenced. Even the idea of Lucifer began to crumble. But at the center, the original stood still. He looked up, one eye dimming slightly. Then he smiled again. You think your equation ends all things, but it's just one answer, and I am the question. From his core, he unleashed something not even Darkseid had anticipated. Not power, not light, but rejection. Lucifer unmade the rules of the field. He unauthored the concept of anti-life certainty. In a single act of narrative defiance, he rewrote the battlefield as a blank page. And on it, he wrote doubt. Darkseid reeled. For the first time, he faltered. The anti-life was absolute, yes. But Lucifer had introduced narrative defiance, the very engine of stories. The idea that something could break away from destiny, that an ending was never final unless it was accepted. Darkseid struck again, but his blows began to falter. They no longer unmade, they collided. And Lucifer, with each movement, created more than he defended. He made, he sang, he dreamed. Darkseid shrank, not in size, but in truth. He was still immense, still dreadful. But now, he had been contested, not by power, but by principle. At last, Lucifer stood over a kneeling form, not out of triumph, but necessity. You were never meant to win, he said gently. Darkseid looked up, not in fear, but in understanding. You are the flaw. Lucifer nodded. And that's why I matter. With a final whisper of his hand, Lucifer sealed the battlefield back into non-existence. Not destroyed. Not buried, simply concluded. Darkseid, defeated not by power but by freedom, faded from the field, not dead but denied dominion over meaning, denied certainty, denied the final word. Lucifer stood alone in the void, looking at the nothing they had remade, and then he turned, humming a song only free minds could hear. The war was not won by strength, it was won by the refusal to accept that strength was all that mattered.